sometimes the updates were small, and sometimes when they introduced new upgrade versions of the Office suite, the changes were quite large. I remember drop-down menus being replaced with tabs and ribbons, and the introduction of Office 365, you'll find, is quite different. The Office 365 represents a seismic shift that will transform the way we work in the future. It will lead to increased productivity, improved teamwork, improved staff satisfaction, and most importantly for you businesses out there, it will help improve your bottom line. Today we're going to have a quick look at Office 365. We're going to have a look at what the benefits are of implementing the Office 365 in your organization. We're going to look at when to start your implementation schedule and why end-user training is critical with Office 365. And lastly, we're going to look at the DDLS range of training types or modalities. So what is Office 365? Office 365 is a suite of applications, or apps as we call them now. You might remember the word programs, and their services with a focus on collaboration and productivity. It's cloud-based and includes Office 2016 desktop applications like Word and Excel, PowerPoint and Outlook that are familiar to you already. When you're at your desk, you mainly use the Office 2016 apps like Word and Excel, PowerPoint and OneNote, and some of the newer apps like Teams and Planner. When you're traveling, you use the online apps from the web browser, so everything is accessible from one location. Now, when you edit files, they're easily accessible from any device, like mobiles, Macs, PCs, and even iPads. This slide shows Office 365 apps after you log in to the online portal with your web browser. Microsoft calls this an evergreen environment, with latest security and feature releases are added on a regular basis. And that means that this blue screen you can see on my slide could even change with new apps tomorrow. You use these apps when you're away from your desk or on the road using a mobile or your tablet. And from here, the Office suite of apps that you're familiar with is still available, but it's a lighter version of ease for use on small screens like phones and tablets. Can you notice the separate calendar and mail and contact tiles that you can access with a quick tap on a small device? And I often use these on my phone. Here you can access handy collaborative apps like Teams and Planner, and even Delve and Sway are really great. You can also retrieve company documents from here. You use SharePoint for those, or you might use your documents saved in OneDrive for Business. These generally replace the old network drives that we used to use. And when you want to use advanced functions in the Office suite, like using Word or Excel features, you can access these apps as usual, or you can choose to switch and edit on your device from the online screen access. So what are the benefits of 365? Why do we like using it? It enables collaboration, so you can share files and other collaborative tools with your colleagues. Simply create or edit a file, then send a link to that file to your colleagues. No more multiple draft versions of the same file. It's quick to search. In SharePoint and OneDrive, that's where we store our files. And instead of scrolling through layers of subfolders and sub-subfolders and trying to remember the name of your file, we just simply search using labels that we call metadata tags. You can work from anywhere. You can easily conduct online meetings from wherever you are. Use enhanced connectivity through video conferencing and messaging using Skype for Business, corporate social networking like Yammer, and integration with various apps and CRMs. It promotes efficiency as well, so you can edit a file with your colleagues in real time instead of sending Outlook attachments to colleagues and then trying to merge all the changes together later. You have synced access to your calendar, email, and contents across all your devices, so you don't have different versions of everything. You work with the latest technology. Work within one integrated platform with no new software license, and you're always up to date. Reduce your costs. Your IT support is less. There are no on-site servers to maintain. You simply use cloud facilities. So let me give you an example of using Office 365. I know a project manager who travels to work in the Sydney CBD from the southern Wollongong area most days. He's in charge of an Office 365 migration in a very large organisation. They have offices worldwide. So he spends his day travelling at least 1.5 hours in the morning by train to work, and then 1.5 hours in the evening. During this time, he has 3 hours of uninterrupted time to work on his laptop. You can create and edit files or catch up with emails or simply plan and think. I know it's a change. Most days he's busy with lots of meetings in the office. So with Office 365, he can use the 3 hours travel time each day to his advantage. If he wants to work offline, on the train, he can synchronize the files so all his changes will update to the original file when he gets into the office and logs in. Many organizations work in an agile environment nowadays, so occasionally he might work from home, where he can access files through a web browser, use Skype for Business to join a meeting remotely, or work on Teams and Planner. You've probably heard the Microsoft slogan, work anytime, anywhere, on any device. This is what it's all about. Work how and when you want to work, whether you use a PC, a laptop, a Mac, a mobile phone, or an iPad. I think that's why I love it. The results of using Office 365 are clear. Independent research has shown that enabling employee mobility can increase productivity for each employee by 15 to 30%. Employees competent at using Office 365 can have around 30 minutes more productivity each day. That is 120 hours more productivity each year for each staff member. In order to achieve this increased productivity, it is vital that the end users receive appropriate training. This will not only equip them with the necessary skills and knowledge, but in the process will see them change their behaviour and embrace the new mobile way of working. When I'm training, I still meet Microsoft Office users that have significant knowledge gaps that slow them down. And many users are now self-taught or have been expanding their knowledge over the years with help from their colleagues, sometimes the wrong tips. With Office 365, there are a number of apps that users will not be familiar with at all. Many are geared for collaboration and team sharing, and they will need training to use these efficiently. Training is imperative for them to keep up to date with the new apps. They appear with updates regularly. We're now going to have a look at implementing training. When do we start implementing training? You've probably heard the success of a migration is measured by long-term user adoption. Firstly, getting business units to adopt, consume, and realize the full potential of new technology is very challenging. The introduction of cloud-based tools and applications introduce an initial learning curve for all users, which needs to be managed via change management practices. Businesses now benefit much more with leaders who are catalysts for change throughout the organisation. Office 365 training needs to be seen as part of a new way of working in the business. And the process for tailoring training to meet your specific needs should start with understanding the company, its location, the number of staff, and some companies even find it beneficial to use a training needs analysis in the initial stages to gather useful information from their staff. DDLS's experience with facilitating rollouts in other organisations is generally to start at least 8 weeks before your anticipated rollout date. Seems a long time ahead, but it's very worthwhile. This summary on this slide shows the 4 stages used with an Office 365 rollout in an organization incorporating change management. Firstly, the planning and sponsorship stage. That starts with engaging sponsors, really defining the behavioral changes that are required and the criteria for a successful migration. Stage 2 is the awareness stage. Time to inspire the staff with a variety of communications and organising pilots or champion groups. Here we need feedback, and that's the beginning of it. Then the learning phase, setting up training schedules, defining training needs and methodologies, and still gaining feedback from the staff involved. And stage 4 is the readiness and adoption. This stage is with ongoing support and measuring user satisfaction. It's also being able to measure the usage of apps and how users adapt to the new way of working. In summary of this area, the end user adoption journey begins with communication and moves through the launch of new tools. From here, it progresses to the training stage with a mix of modalities, and we'll talk about those shortly, and support, and then into the continual support and transition services using change champions and further support documentation. This next slide is an example of a migration schedule that starts 8 weeks before launch. It incorporates the end user adoption stages that were explained on the previous slide. So here, 8 weeks out, internal site announcement starts, the excitement begins, posters, booklets, scenarios, spotlights, things to get everybody excited. Then the help desk training, the champion training, the learning centres set up, and everyone is still moving through the weeks. By week 4, prior to migration, the pilot survey starts. Early adopter videos appear. Lunch and learn sessions arrive, so people can learn tips and tricks and get some idea of what they're going to move into. By 2 weeks before launch, there are frequently asked questions coming out of Yammer, emails, and around the organisation. A launch event starts a week before launch, and welcome emails appear in everybody's inboxes. End user training is also at this stage, and best practices and policies are always mentioned. Then the launch appears, and everybody is excited still, and incentives and contests arrive. So people get excited and move into the launch phase. Post-launch is where incentives and contests are reviewed and analysed. Why 365 end user training is critical to business, we'll see in the next slide. Automatic updates with the latest security and feature releases are added on a regular basis to Office 365 users. Users need to be aware of this evergreen environment and embrace these changes and the new mobile way of working. Organizations need to see increased efficiency within each area of Office 365 so that end user training is more important than ever so users can apply their new skills. The benefits for businesses: improved employee engagement and productivity. Staff morale and output is improved with less downtime. Staff work smarter and they're happier in the workplace, and they tell me that there are less sick days. Being able to work from any location frees up your workforce and reduces your downtime. If I have to leave the office because a family member is sick, I can still work, look at emails and files from home while they're safely home in bed, and that's a great advantage with Office 365. Better business continuity with immediate customer satisfaction as everything is accessed from one location. There is a competitive edge here too. Mobile workers can make decisions or order products on the road. There's no more paper orders faxed or telephoned in. It's immediately actioned. You now have no server downtime problems. Microsoft guarantees you have 99% uptime with the cloud instead of possible downtime with servers or power cuts or hardware problems. Why is training critical? Think of how you work today with Microsoft Office, whether it's version 2010, 2013, or 2016. You may already be missing new features that can revolutionize the way you work, and even more so if you are working with Office 365 apps. You'll be more efficient and learn how to work more effectively using Office 365 in your daily life, using devices and platforms of your choice, including Android phones and tablets, iPhones and iPads, Macs and PCs. Once you've had the training, you'll be able to embrace this change in your organization. You'll look out for new apps, try them out, be brave. No more downtime because a huge upgrade's been released. Look at the positive opportunities in the new environment and save time and learn how to collaborate using the Office 365 apps like Planner or Teams. And here, we can't forget the work-life balance. You can work 365 days a year if you want to. Now is the time to work smarter, use your time better, and make the most of your devices so you have more time for a work-life balance. We're now going to have a look at training styles or modalities. Take a minute to think about this question. How many types of training styles can you think of? Styles like face-to-face or online. Okay, I have actually counted 12 styles of training that DDLS offers. So those of you who did pick 12, I can hear you cheering. So let's have a bit of a look at the training modalities here at DDLS. DDLS has a range of training options available. This is determined by the number of staff, the type of your organization, your location, your other offices or sites. Often the delivery is a mixture of training, like face-to-face or online training. It is beneficial that the training is run close to the anticipated rollout for staff retention and excitement. This generates excitement and anticipation of the staff for this new way of working. And I've seen that happen. So what type of training modalities are we going to look at? Here are some of them that are available through DDLS. The one-on-one training is specific to individuals' needs and job requirements, very popular in certain organizations. The instructor-led training sessions, they're generally hands-on, either half-day or full-day core product training in a classroom, and they're for groups of 10 or 12 per session. These can be on site at customer premises or at the DDLS training centres around Australia. There's also power user training for executive assistants or EAs and super users. They'll become first surrogate line support called power users or coaches, and they are team members on rollouts. This is also recommended for executives and can be delivered in their offices in short sessions. Quick reference guides. They're A4 handouts used to support the seminars or webinars, but can also be provided to all staff for use in the workplace. It could be possibly stored on your company intranet or emailed. Also seminar style for larger groups. These can be delivered in groups of 30 per session. It's a presentation style in a 1 to 2 hour session block. Very handy for large staff numbers. E-learning. DDLS can design and deliver effective and engaging self-paced e-learning modules Customise to reflect the client environment. Scenario-based training is used to engage the audience by using real-world benefits and challenges. Webinars. They're the same as a seminar, but they're delivered via the web, and they're ideal for remote staff locations. Micro-webinars are short scenario-based training sessions using real-world benefits and challenges. We also have kiosk and customer immersion experience room setups. So there's a small groups or a one-on-one interactive training session that's conducted on the client site. And this is conducive to a more personal learning experience, which offers hands-on practical knowledge that transfers during the pilot and rollout periods. This is generally conducted as the training sessions are for one-on-one or groups. Virtual instructor-led sessions. These are delivered via the web and are also ideal for remote staff locations. Floor walking or on-the-job training is close to deployment and is often on the day of rollout to assist with quick hints and tips. Lunch and learn sessions are 1-hour instructor-led hands-on training sessions with quick tips and tricks or an overview of new features. So I've just mentioned 12 types of modalities that I can think of, but this next screen gives you more options that DDLS has available, and often clients mix these as they need. In addition to some of these modalities that I've discussed, DDLS has SMEs, what we call subject matter experts. These experts generally work at a client site, often as part of a change team. They design, develop, and deliver instructor-led training material to support implementation of Office 365. These include quick reference guides, lunch and learn sessions, or seminar presentations that fit with the client brand and vision. Office 365 training comes in all sorts of styles, and whatever your organization chooses, there are some simple factors to remember for your rollout. The training needs to be timely. It should start around 5 days before migration to retain the information with new methods to staff. It needs to be tailored to the audience, considering time restraints, staff numbers, staff locations. It should show the new functionality and how it will be used in their day-to-day work. The training should also include the benefits to the user and how productivity will be increased. Consistency with the learning is important as well and should be ongoing. And lastly, the users need to know where to get help from super users, champions, IT, help desks, Yammer feeds, emails, and other enthusiastic users. During this webinar, we have looked at a number of features of Office 365 and training modalities. We've looked at what Office 365 is, and it's just simply a cloud-based system for users to share, store, and collaborate with files from any location using apps from wherever they are on any device. The benefits: users can work from anywhere. They can be competent using Office 365 and promote efficiency in the workplace. They will increase their productivity and they'll improve their teamwork. They'll have better morale and have a greater feeling of satisfaction working in their organization. When do we suggest you start your implementation schedule? Ideally around 8 weeks before rollout. The introduction of cloud-based tools and applications introduce an initial learning curve for all users and this needs to be managed by change management practices. Why is end-user training critical? It will revolutionize a new way of working in your company. It efficiently uses devices of their choice, mobiles, tablets, Macs, PCs. It embraces the change in your organization. It enhances positive opportunities in the new environment and a work-life balance. The range of training modalities we've run through, there are a number of different styles and types of modalities to meet the needs of your organization. And DDLS works with the clients, you as a company, to agree with those modalities that suit you. Thank you for spending your time with me this afternoon. I hope you found some of these features useful. These links on this screen will take you directly to the DDLS website. Alternatively, you can contact DDLS and talk to an account manager who will give you much more information about how we can help you. So now it's time for questions.
Thank you very much, Libby, for that wonderful session. I almost feel like Office 365 rollout expert already. So everyone, we will now go through your individual questions. I can see we had a few pop up during the course of the webinar, so we will go through them one by one. If you have any other questions that might have just popped up in your head, please type them to the chat panel now and we will add them to the list to be addressed accordingly. So question number one for you, Libby. What about security using the cloud?
Oh, thanks, Sean. Actually, that's a really important question, and I'm asked a lot about that. I know a number of large companies that have successfully migrated Office 365 here in Australia. One of them was a large bank. There's another very large airline. They have offices around the world. And also a large accounting firm also have moved into Office 365. They obviously need to do due diligence and ensure that all is in place before migration. But if large organizations like that are using Office 365, it's a very good example of how well it works.
Thanks for that, Libby. Second question for you. Does Office 365 have a way of storing versions of files?
Yes. There's an option that allows you to choose version and view the versions of any files, and that allows you to actually restore older versions rather than having multiple drafts of a file.
Yep. And question number 3. What is the difference between SharePoint and OneDrive for business?
Oh, yeah. SharePoint is where you store your company files. That would be equivalent to your network drive if you're using file servers now. And that means that you can easily access files from your organization. The OneDrive component is where you store your own files that you're working on, and you're able to send links to other colleagues so they can access your files from either your SharePoint files or your OneDrive files. But generally, OneDrive is where you store your files that only you see.
Yep. Thank you. The question from Dilruk, he's asking if does Office 365 contain Microsoft Access?
Depending on, it's not in the app section. Depending on the actual deployment you have. So if it's for business, you'll be able to access, yes. Yep. Office 365 for business.
No worries. Question from Neil just popped up. If I have Office 365 through work, what happens when I change employment, especially if my new employer doesn't use Office 365? Or even the Microsoft Office suite for that matter?
I think you feel very sad. I'd be very frustrated if that happened to me. when you log in through the Microsoft portal, and you log in with your work login. So it's all to do with your work environment. So if you move companies, you'll have to try and coax them into upgrading to Office 365, and then you'll be able to use it there. Otherwise, you could have Office 365 personally, but you wouldn't be able to use it at work.